Hey everyone, my name is David Dunbar, or the theme park evangelist. I officially scared off the cat, so now I can just focus on the camera without having the cat to pet. Kind of annoying sometimes. It's like, okay, I love you, but I don't always want to give you all my attention. So I finally figured out what discussion topic I wanted to talk to you guys about this evening. I try to do at least one a day while I'm still forced to stay home due to a recent sickness that I had that forced my doctor to keep me out of work until next Monday. I don't want to say what the sickness was, but I will say this much. I actually started improving in my health as of last week, and as of Monday, for the most part, I was about 98% better. I think I'm as of like yesterday or today, I'm about 100% better. I still like on the very rare occasion have the slight cough, but it's like very quick, and I'm like no longer throwing up phlegm or anything, so I'm not like dying. I don't feel like I'm dying or anything, or I'm not dying or anything. So that's the reason why I've been home lately, and I'm actually getting ready to move next month. So yeah, just bad timing on everything, but I also at the same time and just still knowing that God has a reason for it. So I'm trying to stay optimistic on that, knowing that God has everything under control and that God will provide no matter what, and I'm not trying to give up on Him. And I'm willing to do my absolute best to do my part as well, because I know God still wants me to do that. So, anyway, for my next discussion topic, yesterday I talked about is the Universal Coca Cola Freestyle Cup even worth it? Which also Legoland has the same exact cup. Tonight, or this evening really, I would like to talk about one is the best time to visit Central Florida. Now, I might have discussed this in the past, but tonight, this evening, whatever, I would like to go into a little bit more detail. So, most people, when they want to visit Central Florida from up north, like from my area, maybe even further north, they typically want to visit during spring break, the summer. Understandable, that's when all the kids are out of school. That's also when it's hot, so it's easier for them to travel. But that doesn't necessarily make it the best time of the year to travel down there. Why is that? Because of the fact that everybody's in Central Florida at the same time. So your Central Florida trip may be a little less enjoyable, but there are actually really decent times to visit Central Florida. I know this for experience or whatever. I know this by heart or for experience because of the fact that I myself grew up in Central Florida for 26 years, so why wouldn't I now? And I can tell you right now, off the top of my head, about halfway through January, other than um, Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, that is pretty much right around the time that it first starts considerably slowing down in Central Florida. Now, I know that sounds like a really weird time to travel. Like, who wants to go down to Central Florida in mid-January? It's so cold. Well, actually, in Central Florida, it's pretty nice down there at that time of the year. Normally, at that point, you're looking at the odd occasional low 50s and low 60s. You're usually looking at highs of the 70s to the 80s. 70s normally, and it's usually very nice down there at that time of the year. And normally, as far as like the parks go, the parks are very quiet. The average wait is about half an hour. It's actually very enjoyable, and it's very easy to even go over to Universal and like ride Hagrid's, for example, or the Velocicoaster. It's very easy to snag that last minute dining reservation. I've actually done that many times when I was living down Central Florida. Um, I wouldn't necessarily always make a dining reservation like in advance. I would actually wait till the day of and see what was available, and you'd be surprised how much is available that day because there's not a lot of people that are traveling because most people are up north, snowed in, or their kids are in school. Also, a lot of people are up north working and are not able to get off of work until the kids are out of school, or they're planning their vacations around the time their kids are out of school. And I mean, I understand it's hard to pull the kids out of school because they're going to miss too much school, and the teachers don't like that. The teachers are like, little Jimmy can't miss, too much school. We're about to cover something like really important right now. Can you no, wait till we're out of school for spring break? Which most parents are like, yeah, we'll wait until spring break so our kids can go to the theme parks without having that issue of pulling the kid out for the week. And in some ways, yes, it is a lot more beneficial to pull the kid out during off season, basically when Central Florida is dead, versus waiting until all the schools close down up here. Because guess what? All the schools are going to pretty much close down around the same time. So if you go during mid-January to late January, it's actually a pretty decent time. I've also know for experience about early and late February, it's very, very quiet at the parks as well, which is also another weird time. And also, another strange thing about February, by that point, Central Florida is actually getting into the 80s and 90s all the time, and your lows are in the 70s. It's like the last decent time that Central Florida actually feels good before it gets really hot. Because Central Florida, ironically, is in summer mode from early March all the way till late October. Summer in Florida lasts a very long time, like winter does up here. Last year alone, it lasted from November all the way through early May. It was crazy. But that's how summer works down in Central Florida. It lasts the majority of the year. And then you get some cooler weather in November and December. Then sometimes you get some of that hot weather mixed in there every now and then. And then you get 2 weeks of cold weather, and then you're back to the warm weather again. It's so weird. That's why there's no real four seasons down in Central Florida. We always like to joke around Central Florida. There's four seasons, and they're not spring, summer, fall, and winter. They're actually tourist season, love bug season, hurricane season, and I think tourist season again. But one of the worst times to be in Florida during the first 2 months of the year is actually President's Day weekend. And trust me, I have been to the theme parks during President's Day weekend. It's not pretty. A lot of people are in town for President's Day, and it's a very big theme park time. Theme parks rely heavily on President's Day weekend, and I'm not really surprised. I have, lived in Central Florida long enough. President's Day weekend was another big time for the grocery stores. I worked in the grocery stores for many years, and President's Day weekend, they always had more than average or higher than average crowds. The month of March is actually the worst month of the year for the theme parks, believe it or not. The one nice thing about the summer months at the Central Florida theme parks is the fact that it's spread out throughout the entire summer. Ironically, when I was living in Central Florida, the crowd levels were higher during spring break than they were during the summer. Now, that's not the same with the Ark Encounter, and the reason why is because up here it doesn't start to get hot until May. That's why the Ark Encounter receives its higher crowds over the summer. And yes, we are expecting very high crowds over the next 2 months because 40 Days and 40 Nights, the largest Christian music festival coming to the Ark Encounter. So I guess, Lord willing, we'll see the largest crowds we've ever seen in our lives over the next 2 months. So that will be exciting. But yes, up here in Kentucky, it is a little backwards because of the fact that Kentucky is kind of in the middle of the country, so it doesn't necessarily get hot here until May versus down Central Florida. It's already hot by March, so that's why everybody usually comes up here by May. So, ironically, while the Central Florida theme parks are probably about half attendance, we're getting our highest attendance right now. The Central Florida theme parks tend to see their largest attendance to date during the month of March, as well as the month of December as well. Especially the last week of December, they're going to get their highest crowds then. But that's because a lot of people like to go to the theme parks for the holidays. But the second highest amount that the Central Florida theme parks are going to get are during spring break. So normally when I go to the Central Florida theme parks during spring break, I normally know I can get away with going to like Disney, for example, the very first week of March, like even Legoland, for example, or Universal. The very first week of March is not too bad. The second week of March, it's getting a little worse. The last week of March is actually the worst week of the entire month. And it's not just because Polk County, the largest county in all of Central Florida, is out, but a lot of counties are also out, and a lot of people, period, just happen to be out at the same exact time. A lot of people intentionally plan their vacations to Central Florida the last week of March into early April. So, yes, normally you can expect your largest crowds at Central Florida to date the absolute last week of March into early April. Usually by mid-April, the crowds do start to go down a little bit, but you're still looking at above average crowds for the rest of the summer. And ironically, here's another really decent time to go to Central Florida to visit like the theme parks and I guess you could say the beach. Literally the day after Labor Day, because so many schools up here, like especially north of where I'm at, go back to school the day after Labor Day. That's another time I've noticed that is like dead at the theme parks. I cannot tell you how many times I've gone to Disney the day after Labor Day, and it is so quiet because so many people have gone back home already. Like, I'll go to Epcot, for example, and I'm still parking, or sorry, they're still parking in Discover at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's the smallest portion of the parking lot. They do have a larger side of the parking lot that goes all the way down to Wonder, and they only use that during busy season, like, for example, Food and Wine. So, like, right now they would be using that. But back then, Food and Wine was not even starting until, like, late August. But now that Food and Wine is, like, such a big deal, I guess they're doing it from July through early November. Who would ever think that Food and Wine would last for several months? But yeah, I remember going in early September, and if you went on a weekday like I did, Epcot was pretty quiet. It was kind of nice, and I've gone to Magic Kingdom so many times right after Labor Day. That was like my favorite time of the year to go to Magic Kingdom because, like, right after Labor Day, all the fall decorations would go up. And it was like really pretty seeing all the seeing Magic Kingdom just covered in orange. It was so cool. I've gotten so many cool pictures of the Magic Kingdom all covered in orange, and it was usually like that until after October, and then they would put up literally over Halloween night, like right after Mickey's Not So Scary ended at midnight on Halloween. They would take down all of the Halloween decorations, and when they would put up all the Christmas decorations. I actually have worked at Magic Kingdom on Halloween, and the very next day, all the Christmas decorations were already up. It's like, what the heck? And Magic Kingdom always had to be first because of the fact that it's probably one of the most visited theme parks in all of the country. if not the world. So they always like felt like they had to be first. I also worked at Hollywood Studios at one point, as you guys know, and it was like the very first week in November, and all the Christmas decorations were already up. Now, early November, you can still actually get away with um, going to the theme parks, and it's still actually pretty quiet. The reason why is because a lot of people are not planning on coming until the week of Thanksgiving. So it's that gray area that you can go visit the theme parks and see all the Christmas decorations and not have a lot of crowds. Because it's still in that weird time, like, do I really want to celebrate Christmas already? And is there like a major reason for me to go? There's like nothing big going on until the week of Thanksgiving, and that's usually when a lot of the crowds start to show up. So that's another reason why early November through mid November is kind of that weird gray area where you can still visit and it's not terribly busy, but it's not exactly quiet either. It's kind of average. It's not like quiet like it was the day after Labor Day all the way through the majority of October. October is another really good month to go, and the weather's usually pretty nice in October in Central Florida. Come early December, the crowd levels start to gradually increase. I could get away with going to Disney in December, all the way up until the week of Christmas. And then after that was like intolerable. Have you ever tried going to Disney on Christmas Eve? It's not fun. And it's even worse on Christmas Day, believe it or not. I have worked at Disney on Christmas Day twice, and I could not believe how many people were at Disney on Christmas Day. I'm like, what in the world? But at the same time, it's like, what are you going to do? Sit around your resort for the entire day? I mean, you can't exactly bring a Christmas tree into your resort room. I don't think they would like that very much. Instead, you would, like, if you wanted to chance it, you might be able to go bring your Christmas presents up to the Christmas tree in the lobby if they don't even notice. Why is my brother calling me on Messenger? Oh well, I'm not gonna know. I'm gonna pretend I'm not gonna notice until after I'm done this YouTube video. So yeah, it was. That's another reason why it's kind of rough going to Disney around Christmas time, because of the fact that like everybody wants to go to Disney for Christmas. Actually, the busiest day of the year to go to the theme parks is on New Year's Eve. Of all days, New Year's Eve is so stinking busy. It's just like one of those days when like everybody wants to be there because everybody wants to go somewhere during in the new year. It's just like the thing to do. You have to go somewhere special to say like, hey, look where I'm at on the last day of the year. I'm gonna be here until midnight, so I can be there to do the countdown and go Happy New Year, you know, all that fun stuff. That's why a lot of like major businesses, like I've even noticed around here, will try to encourage people to come out and ring in the new year. I mean, obviously, you're going to see most people going to Disney or Universal, where they're going to get the higher crowds. I know last year, New Year's Eve wasn't as big of a deal at the theme parks, but I feel like this year it is, with the pandemic coming to an end. I know they still have the Delta variant out, but I still know that a lot of people are going to be more interested in being out this year than last year. So a lot of people will definitely be planning trips to like Disney and Universal this New Year's Eve. And I've never ever wanted to work at the theme parks on New Year's Eve. I've always gotten away with not working at the theme parks on New Year's Eve. It's never been something I've ever desired to do. I've always had a rule. I have never traveled more than 5 miles or so, maybe 15 miles. I'll go with that. 1 second. Yeah, I've never tried to travel at more than 15 miles from my home on New Year's Eve. That's literally been the most strict rule I've had, and now that I live in Kentucky, my new rule is now about 5 miles. I could not see myself really even doing anything with my coworkers this year. If I do anything with my coworkers this year, this would be my very first year that I would do anything for New Year's Eve. But even then, I would try not to be out too late either. I just don't feel comfortable with the idea of being too far from home on New Year's Eve. And my biggest reason is because I know how many people get drunk on New Year's Eve. I have been told that most people don't usually get drunk until after 1 o'clock in the morning, usually between the hours of 2 and 3 in the morning. That's the highest chance of running across a drunk driver. And I've been told that's especially true around here, but still, why would you want to chance it? You're always safest at home. Most people I've talked to, oh, like, ooh, what are your plans for New Year's Eve? Most people have been like, I'm staying home, which is how I was always taught. And I'm thankful that I do meet a lot of people that actually do, have some kind of common sense and are willing to stay home. And even when I was living in Central Florida, when I had all those places I could go to, like Disney Springs or the parks, obviously I would have had to pay my way into the parks because there was no way on God's green earth I was going to get in as a cast member. They were all blocked out. I think the only park I was even able to get into, period, as a cast member was Animal Kingdom. Like, who wants to go to Animal Kingdom on New Year's Eve? Yeah, I'm gonna go ring in the New Year at Pandora. That's probably like the most exciting you're gonna get. I think there was one year that Hollywood Studios was actually also available on New Year's Eve, but we're talking prior to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Back when Hollywood Studios was boring, so. So there you have it. Those are pretty much the main area or main times of the year that you can get away with going to Central Florida on your like next big trip to Disney or Universal. You also know exactly when it's busy. You know that Central Florida gets a lot of people during spring break, the summer, and also like right around Thanksgiving into Christmas. You also know that New Year's Eve is the busiest day of the year. I spent a good amount of time talking about that. So the next time you're planning a trip to Central Florida, just don't be surprised how many people are at the parks depending on when you plan your trip, especially if you're like, oh, I'm going to go this summer. Obviously, I explained the reason why most people go to Central Florida during the summer or during spring break. I understand the whole kids can't be pulled out of school very easily when the parks are at their quietest. I also understand that it's harder to travel, period, during the winter, especially if you live up north. I also understand it's harder to get away from your job during certain times of the year, and sometimes your job doesn't allow you to travel on less like everybody else is out. I understand how that works. I lived in Central Florida for 26 years. I do have one more pointer. If you're like really big on Disney Springs, ironically the best time of the day to go and the best days of the week to go would be A, mornings into the afternoons, and B, weekdays. So in other words, avoid Disney Springs Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Especially in the evening. If you want to avoid the crowds and if you want to be able to actually find a parking spot. Now, granted, there are 3 parking garages and surface parking now at Disney Springs, but still, you are guaranteed to get into Disney Springs a lot faster, with a lot less difficulty if you go during the daytime, because a lot more people are interested in going to Disney Springs in the evenings, especially on the weekends. Trust me, been there, done that. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next vlog, and always remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Have a great night or evening, and peace out.